Okay, let's unpack this. We're taking a deep dive today into a place often called the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
Our source material for this deep dive is, it's a travel guide, and it paints this picture of an island nation offering just an incredible range of experiences.
Yeah, it really does.
Like, sun-kissed beaches, meeting mist-covered mountains, ancient cities kind of whispering history.
And wildlife encounters, too. Things you won't forget.
Exactly. All packed into one vibrant space.
That's right. And, well, our goal with this deep dive is really to pull out the most important insights from this specific travel guide.
Right.
We want to help you, the listener, get a clear picture of what visiting Sri Lanka might look like, but based only on the information and the way it's framed in this source.
Okay.
So we'll explore the key destinations it highlights, the travel tips it offers, and, how it suggests you might plan your trip.
So consider this your shortcut then, to understanding why this guide positions Sri Lanka as such a treasure trove for all sorts of travelers.
Exactly. Whether you're looking for adventure, relaxation,
Cultural immersion, maybe.
Yeah, or connecting with nature. Let's see what makes this island so captivating, at least according to the guide we have in front of us.
So where does it start?
Well, the guide kicks off by setting the scene. It describes Sri Lanka as a place of rich contrasts and really vibrant culture.
Yep.
And it immediately points to some pretty striking facts it wants you to know. It mentions 8 UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
8? Wow.
Yeah. Highlights stunning coastlines, diverse wildlife, elephants, leopards, that sort of thing. And it notes a history woven with rich Buddhist heritage and, remnants of colonial eras.
Real mix.
And it also adds that the people are warm and welcoming.
That's always a plus.
And interestingly, the source presents travel and accommodation options as being quite accessible and affordable.
Mm-hmm.
It frames the island as a perfect spot for pretty much everything. Solo adventures, honeymoons, family trips, even spiritual retreats. It really emphasizes its versatility for different travel styles.
Got it. So a broad appeal.
Absolutely. And from that broad intro, the guide dives into specific destinations. It starts with Colombo.
Right, the capital.
Yeah.
Or the commercial capital, anyway.
Exactly. It calls it the commercial and cultural hub, a place where, modern city life meets colonial charm.
Okay, what does it highlight there?
It lists key attractions like Galle Green, the Gangara Maya Temple, Independence Memorial Hall, and the Peta Floating Market.
Okay, sounds like a busy starting point.
Yeah, it makes sense as a starting point for many. Then, shifting gears and moving inland, the guide takes us to Kandy.
Ah, Kandy. Positioned as the cultural capital, right? Nestled in the hill country.
That's the one. This is another place the source notes is a UNESCO site, famously home to the Temple of the Sacred Tooth relic.
Right. A very important site.
Definitely. Key visits here, according to the guide, include the temple itself, naturally, the Royal Botanical Gardens, Kandy Lake, and experiencing local cultural dance shows.
You can already sort of feel the shift in atmosphere the island offers just moving from Colombo to Kandy.
Yeah, absolutely. What's fascinating here is how the guide moves you pretty quickly from that bustling urban setting to a serene, deeply culturally significant city up in the hills. Next up, it brings us to one of the most iconic images of Sri Lanka, Sigiriya, the Lion Rock Fortress.
Ah, Sigiriya. The pictures look incredible. Climbing that rock.
It's presented as a must-see landmark. The guide gives us specific detail here, mentioning there are 1,200 steps to reach the top.
1,200 steps, okay.
Yeah, and it highlights exploring the ancient frescoes on the way up, as well as visiting the Sigiriya Museum. The source really focuses on the scale and history of this site.
It really does sound impressive.
It does. Then, from ancient history, the guide shifts our focus to nature and cooler climates. It mentions Nuwara Eliya.
Oh, right. The place they call Little England.
Exactly. He charmingly calls it that. This area is known for its cool climate, a stark contrast to the coast, and its extensive tea plantations.
So, prime spot for nature lovers, tea enthusiasts.
Definitely. The guide suggests visiting Gregory Lake, Horton Plains National Park, taking tea factory tours, and admiring the colonial-style architecture still present there.
Little England. Yeah, that name alone gives you a real sense of the different worlds just within this one island.
It does. The guide then highlights Ella. This one sounds particularly appealing to maybe backpackers or anyone seeking just stunning natural views.
Right. How's it described?
As a scenic hill station surrounded by lush forests and dramatic waterfalls.
Sounds lovely. What are the must-sees there, according to the guide?
According to this guide, the must-see spots in Ella include the famous Nine Arches Bridge.
Ah, yes, the train bridge photo everyone gets.
That's the one. Also Little Adams Peak, Rivanna Falls, and Ella Rock. The source really emphasizes the natural beauty and the opportunities for hiking and exploration in this region.
So it's covering diverse landscapes and activities, beaches, mountains, culture, history.
Exactly. And heading back towards the coast, the guide features Galle.
Galle Fort. Heard a lot about that.
Yeah, it's presented as a charming town centered around a remarkably well-preserved 17th century fort, originally built by the Portuguese, then fortified by the Dutch.
So lots of history layered there.
For sure. The guide highlights exploring the Galle Fort itself, seeing the lighthouse, visiting the Dutch Reformed church within the walls, and it mentions the presence of boutique cafes and shops that give the fort a unique, kind of lived-in feel.
Interesting. Not just a museum piece.
Right. It also notes that Unawatuna Beach is close by for that beach fix.
Galle really seems to offer that appealing blend, doesn't it? Deep history and coastal relaxation, just like the guide suggests.
It seems so. And speaking of beaches, the source specifically calls out Bentota and Marissa for those classic beach experiences.
Okay, what makes them stand out in the guide?
Well, these towns are noted for water sports and, importantly, opportunities for whale watching.
Ah, whale watching.
The draw.
Yeah.
The guide lists activities like jet skiing, snorkeling, and specifically whale and dolphin watching tours, particularly for Marissa.
Yep.
It also mentions things like sunset cruises and opportunities for Ayurvedic spa treatments, really covering the range of ways you can enjoy the coast, you know?
Definitely sounds like it covers the relaxation and fun side.
And finally, for those interested in wildlife, the guide points to Yala National Park.
Right. The famous one? For leopards.
That's what it emphasizes, describing it as Sri Lanka's premier park and really stressing its significance as a place to potentially spot the Sri Lankan leopard, though it does note they can be elusive.
Fair enough. Good to manage expectations. What else?
It mentions you can also expect to see elephants, crocodiles, peacocks, sloth bears, and various other animals there.
Wow. So that gives us a fantastic overview, just based on this guide, of the sheer variety packed onto this island.
It really does, from ancient sites and cultural hubs to mountain retreats, coastal forts, and rich wildlife parks.
The guide then transitions, right, to discuss the practical aspects of actually planning a trip.
Yes, exactly. It mentions using planning resources. It highlights one specific online portal, Platform Name, describing it as a place where travelers can compare and book flights, hotels, and car rentals globally. It suggests that using a tool like that can help streamline the process of finding options for your trip.
So that frames this kind of tool as potentially useful for seeing various choices in one place, especially when you're planning out the kind of itinerary it's just described.
Pretty much. The guide also provides essential general travel details, covers the currency, the Sri Lankan rupee. Languages notes Sinhala and Tamil are official, but English is widely spoken.
That's helpful. Getting around.
It offers tips on that too. Mentions options like tuk-tuks, trains, which are often highlighted for their scenic routes.
Heard about those train rides?
Yeah. Buses and rented cars too. For entry, it notes visa requirements often involve getting an ETA, an electronic travel authorization, for many nationalities.
Okay, standard stuff to check.
And practical advice, like dressing modestly when visiting religious sites. You know, the basics.
That's the kind of foundational info that's really crucial when you're planning for the first time.
Definitely. And the guide sort of wraps up by stating that Sri Lanka is presented not just as a place you visit, but an experience that captivates your heart and soul.
Quite evocative language.
It is. It circles back to those themes of timeless ruins, spiritual aura, natural beauty, golden beaches, suggesting that every corner of this island has a story to tell.
It really does emphasize the immersive, almost emotional impact of the place, according to this source, doesn't it?
It does. And tying back to the practical side just for a moment, the guide suggests that to make this journey smooth and memorable, planning your itinerary using the tool it mentioned.
Right, the Platform Name portal.
Is presented as a way to potentially find options for flights, hotels, and cars, describing it as a way to explore Sri Lanka.
So, okay, we've journeyed through the bustling capital, the cultural heart in the hills, the ancient fortresses the guide highlights.
Scenic natural landscapes, the historic colonial coast, vital wildlife areas.
Yeah. Based purely on this source material, this deep dive has really shown just how much contrast and variety Sri Lanka seems to offer.
And it emphasizes that it's about being immersed in a captivating experience, not just, ticking off sites.
And as the source suggests, planning that experience might involve using tools like the one it describes.
Which it presents as aggregating options for flights, hotels, car rentals, offering a way to compare possibilities.
Okay, so thinking about this island nation, just as described in the guide, with its ancient ruins standing right beside lush natural beauty, its vibrant culture mingling with golden beaches.
It's quite a tapestry.
Yeah, this deep dive has given us a glimpse into that diverse tapestry, which leads to a final thought, maybe. How might exploring a place like Sri Lanka, with all these layers of history and diverse landscapes the guide talks about, how might that be not just a journey across geography, but maybe also a journey through time, and a connection to nature's intricate details?
That's an interesting question to ponder. What story might you, the listener, uncover there that resonates personally? What part of that tapestry would speak to you?